Greetings, esteemed listeners. Today, we embark on an exciting new adventure with Tu, the skilled gravedigger, and Master Tao, the enigmatic mentor. 20 years have passed since Tu, a young unemployed man, decided to follow Master Tao to learn the art of grave digging. Now, Tu has grown into a respected gravedigger, admired by many. By his side stands Master Tao, the dedicated teacher, weakened by age yet still holding many secrets. Together, the master and apprentice have traveled through countless villages, assisting the villagers in laying their loved ones to rest. They have witnessed the full spectrum of human emotions, from the joy of reunion to the sorrow of separation, from the exhilaration of celebration to the grief of mourning. Along this arduous path, they have faced not only professional challenges but also encountered the mysterious and the supernatural. Traversing through shadowy ancient tombs and desolate cemeteries, they have come into contact with otherworldly forces and secrets buried deep within the earth. Throughout their journey, Master Tao has been the guiding light for Tu, imparting not only knowledge of their profession but also life lessons. Tu has learned to cherish the value of life, to love others, and to maintain a pure heart amidst the temptations of the world. One day, the master and apprentice arrive at a remote village nestled deep within the mountains. There, the villagers live in fear and anxiety due to the recurring strange occurrences. Tu and Master Tao decide to stay and investigate the cause, offering their assistance to the villagers. They embark on a quest to uncover the dark secrets hidden within the village, confronting the malevolent forces threatening its tranquility. Where will the master and apprentice's quest for truth lead them? What perils will they face? Can they unravel the dark mysteries and restore peace to the village? Join us on Master and Apprentice on a new journey to discover the next chapter in Tu and Master Tao's tale, where they will confront formidable challenges and encounter enigmas more perplexing than ever before. We wish you, our esteemed listeners, an entertaining and captivating experience. That is a story from 20 years ago, when he first started learning the profession of grave digging from a Chinese master. At that time, he was about 26-27 years old and unemployed. During a family event where they hired the master to rebury his grandfather, the master noticed that he had the right demeanor for this profession. After finishing the work, the master spoke to T's parents. "I have something to say to you. Would you like to hear it?" T's parents replied, "Please, go ahead. We are listening." The master looked T up and down, stroked his beard, and said, "I see that your son has some qualities that suit this job. I've been doing this work alone for a long time, and my assistants have only been temporary. Now that I'm over 60, I haven't found anyone with the right qualities. Today, meeting him, I find something intriguing. What is your son currently doing?" T's father answered, "He's nearly 30 and still hasn't found stable work. We don't know what to do with him." The master smiled and stroked his beard. "I'd like to suggest that he follow me and learn the trade. He will have a profession to live by in the future. This work isn't for everyone, but sometimes the profession chooses the person. I knew he had a connection with this work the moment I saw him." T's mother was a bit worried, "But this profession involves dealing with corpses, I'm concerned. Period. The master waved his hand and replied, "Don't worry. Any profession is fine as long as it doesn't harm others. If he learns from me, his future will be prosperous. Helping the dead find peace is a good deed. As I said, you need the right connection to do it." Being bold by nature, T felt intrigued by the mention of a prosperous life. While eating, he spoke to his parents, "If the master says I have a destiny, then let my parents let me follow the master to learn the trade. I don't see anything scary about this job. If everyone is scared, who will dare to do it?" The Chinese master looked at T and laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha. I told you, from the moment I met him, I knew he was suitable for this profession. Especially when he watched me carefully washing each bone with aromatic water, I wanted to take him as my disciple. I hope you both agree." For the first time in their lives, seeing their son genuinely interested in a job, T's parents were very happy. With the master's explanations, they felt more reassured about letting T follow him to learn the trade of grave digging. The family kept the master at their house for 3 days to treat him well and prepare necessary items for T to depart. Indeed, it was fate. Although the master and disciple had only met for a few days, they talked very intimately. After 3 days, T packed his bags and said goodbye to his parents to follow the master and learn the trade. The master's words proved true. With other jobs, T was quite clumsy, but when it came to feng shui, determining directions, timing, examining graves, or anything related to the dead, T learned very quickly. After 5 years of following the master, T was capable of handling all the work, even the most difficult details. Moreover, the Chinese master was not just a grave digger, he also knew divination and physiognomy. Sometimes T saw him making talismans upon request for a large sum of money. However, he did not teach T these things. Whenever T expressed a desire to learn, he would say, "Talismans are not good and not everyone can do it. I told you before that you have a destiny for the grave digging trade. As for other things, I cannot guarantee. Just focus on mastering what I have taught you, and you will understand in the future." Listening to the master's words, T did not dare to insist. Although he was not afraid of dead bodies or bones, every time he secretly watched the master making talismans by cutting his own blood and mixing it with a black liquid before using a brush to write strange characters on red paper, T felt shivers. It wasn't the blood that scared him. Following the master in this trade, T had some spiritual sensitivity. Each time he saw the master making talismans, he vaguely perceived something eerie, and each time the master made a talisman, he seemed to visibly age. T understood that the master's words were true, talismans were not good, and overusing them would bring misfortune to the one casting them. T admired the master even more. From then on, whenever he knew the master was making a talisman for someone, T would take on the chores and care for the master diligently. The Chinese master was aware of this and often laughed. "Indeed, I have not misjudged anyone in my life. At least, as I near death, I have a good disciple. It's not in vain, not in vain." T poured tea for the master and gently reproached, "Master, don't say that. You are still very healthy. What do you mean by nearing death? And as you said, talismans are not good, so why do you still make them? It affects your health too much. Period. Period." The Chinese master looked at T and gently said. The next morning, the homeowner knocked on the door to call the two master and apprentice for breakfast. Two had only just dozed off at that time. The sky was still misty. Master Tao opened the door and went out to the garden to wash his face. He looked around at the thatched roof houses around him and then went back into the house. After breakfast, Master Tao went to the homeowner who was making a pot of tea. The homeowner invited Master Tao to sit down and gently sat down. He stroked his beard and asked the homeowner, "The geomancy of this place is quite good. However, I see a dark shadow looming over this family. I'm afraid something bad will happen in the near future." The homeowner was startled and quickly poured tea for Master Tao, asking anxiously, "Master, please help me. What can we do to resolve this?" Master Tao took a sip of his tea and said slowly, "I'm afraid this matter is beyond my ability. This is a karmic debt that this family needs to repay themselves." The homeowner was even more confused. He asked, "Karmic debt? What do you mean, Master?" Master Tao sighed and explained, "According to the records in the village's genealogy, this family's ancestor was once a local official. He was greedy and corrupt, and he had harmed many innocent people. The resentment of those people has not been dissipated, and it has now been passed down to this generation of your family." The homeowner was stunned. He had never heard of such a thing before. He asked, "Then what should we do, Master?" Master Tao shook his head and said, "I can't help you with this. This is a matter of personal cause and effect. The only way to resolve it is for your family to sincerely repent and do good deeds to accumulate merit. Perhaps over time, the karmic debt can be gradually repaid." The homeowner nodded somberly, thanking Master Tao for his guidance. After breakfast, the two master and apprentice packed up their belongings and bid farewell to the homeowner. They continued on their journey, heading towards the next village. On the way, Two couldn't help but ask Master Tao, "Master, what's the matter with that family? Why do they have to repay a karmic debt?" Master Tao sighed and said, "The cycle of cause and effect is karmic law. If you plant good seeds, you will reap good fruits. If you plant bad seeds, you will reap bad fruits. This family's ancestor did evil things, and now their descendants have to bear the consequences. This is the karmic retribution." Two nodded thoughtfully. He had never thought about the concept of karma before. From that day on, he began to believe in the law of cause and effect, and he was more cautious in his words and deeds. The strange encounter a few days later, the two master and apprentice came to a remote mountain village. The villagers here were very poor, and they lived a simple life. That night, the two master and apprentice were staying in a small temple at the foot of the mountain. In the middle of the night, Two was awakened by a strange sound. He sat up and listened carefully. The sound seemed to be coming from outside the temple. Two got out of bed and quietly walked to the door. He peeked out through a crack in the door and saw a group of people dressed in black standing in the temple courtyard. They were holding torches and chanting something in a language that Two couldn't understand. Two was very scared. He didn't know who these people were or what they were doing. He quickly turned back and went back to bed, pretending to be asleep. The next morning, Tu told Master Tao about what he had seen the night before. Master Tao frowned and said, "It seems that we have encountered something unclean." Tu asked, "What should we do, Master?" Master Tao said, "We need to be careful. These people are probably trying to summon evil spirits. We should leave this place as soon as possible." After breakfast, the two master and apprentice packed up their belongings and left the mountain village. They continued on their journey, heading towards the next town. Tu never found out who the people in black were or what they were doing. But he never forgot the strange encounter, and it made him even more cautious about the dangers of the world. That's true, but everyone has a mission in life. You know, I don't have any children, and I don't lack money or possessions in this profession as a grave digger. But I still have a debt to repay. Period. Seeing the slight sadness on Master Tao's face, Tu didn't dare to ask any further. He only knew that almost all the money Master Tao earned was sent to the temple to do good deeds. Tu also knew that Master Tao, although of Chinese origin, had spent most of his time in Vietnam. But he had never mentioned his wife, children, or relatives in China. He only knew that he traveled around to dig graves for those who needed his help. This year, Master Tao was also nearly 70 years old. It was true that fate had brought them together, so since Tu followed Master Tao, he had only returned home a few times. Tu mainly sent money back to his parents at home. Because Master Tao was a well-known grave digger, many people came to seek his help. Grave digging was only done at certain times, but Master Tao also knew how to read feng shui and physiognomy, so wherever he went, people would come to visit him. Following Master Tao, Tu learned grave digging skills that not everyone knew. Once, the two master and apprentice went to a rather poor village in Tanhua. At that time, the people there still lived in thatched roof houses. Every house had a vegetable garden, a fish pond, and raised chickens and pigs. That year was also the time of the Lunar New Year, and the two master and apprentice were invited to dig a grave for a wealthy family in the village. The work was not difficult because since Tu had been with him, the two master and apprentice worked very well together, and everything was always done perfectly and neatly. As a result, wherever they went, the two master and apprentice were very much loved by the homeowners, who often invited them to stay for a few days and treated them very generously. Since Tu followed Master Tao, he realized that the life of a grave digger was not as scary as people thought. That night, Tu was startled awake when he opened his eyes to see Master Tao opening the window and looking out into the garden, even though it was 12 a.m. Tu called out, "Why don't you go to sleep, Master?" Master Tao put his hand over his mouth. "Shh. Period. Don't make a noise. Period. It's not good. Period. Looking at the moonlight reflected on Master Tao's face at that time, Tu almost screamed out of fear. Master Tao's thin face and long, flowing white hair were no different from a ghost at that moment. Suddenly, Master Tao closed the window, returned to bed, and said to Tu, "Perhaps we need to stay here for a while longer. I never thought that this kind of evil spirit would also appear in Vietnam. You must be very careful when you go out tomorrow. Although I don't see the evil spirit's intention to harm people, but as ghosts, their appearance in the mortal world is usually not a good thing." Tu didn't understand what Master Tao was talking about. He looked at Master Tao and nodded. Master Tao continued, "Go to sleep now. If you hear any noise outside while you're sleeping, don't open the door or peek out." Tu obeyed Master Tao and continued to sleep, but that night, after hearing Master Tao's words, Tu couldn't sleep. In the middle of the night, Tu suddenly heard rustling sounds from the hedge behind the garden where the two master and apprentice were sleeping. The rustling sound became clearer and clearer, as if someone was crawling through the hedge. Maybe it's a thief. The countryside is poor, and there are not many houses with brick walls and fences. It's understandable that there would be thieves. Thinking this, Tu got up and walked towards the window. He was about to open the window when he was suddenly pulled back quite forcefully. Tu was startled and turned around to see that it was Master Tao, who was still awake. Master Tao pulled Tu back, but his hand still tightly gripped Tu's collar, silent and without a word. Master Tao's hand was like stone, cold as ice, and with his cold face and tight lips, Tu was so scared that he got goosebumps. After a while, Master Tao let Tu go and said, "I told you not to look, but why didn't you listen to me?" Tu stammered, "Yes, I was afraid that the thief would come into my room and your room. Period. Master Tao sighed deeply, his cough sounding harsh and painful. Both teacher and student lay on the bed, unable to sleep. T was worried, unsure of what was happening. The next morning, the homeowner knocked on the door to wake the two up for breakfast, just as T was beginning to doze off. The sky was still misty. Master Tao stepped out into the garden to wash his face, glancing around at the nearby thatched houses before returning inside. After breakfast, Master Tao approached the homeowner who was preparing tea. Invited to sit, he gently sat down and stroked his beard, asking the homeowner, Period.